Members of the African intelligentsia, I greet you. I come tonight because there's a heaviness in my spirit. Like there's an unsettled feeling in my spirit. And as you know, everything you know to be intelligence is not always in black and white. It's not always in writing. It's not always something you can see with your physical eyes, something you can touch or even smell. That's why, apart from the five senses we have, there's something called a sixth sense. That's also known as your intuition. Some people call it your gut feeling. There's just this alarm going off in my spirit. That something is not sitting well, that something is wrong. Let me explain why. The reason for that is because a year ago, ECOWAS was trying to amass a fighting force, an intervention force is what they called it, of 25,000. Of that 25,000, 50% of them were going to be Nigerian troops. And then the rest were slated to come from Senegal, Togo, Benin, and other places on the continent, Ghana, other places on the continent. Fast forward to this year, not too long ago, it was reported that Nana Akufo-Addo had called for the raising of an intervention force to deal with terrorism on the continent. And then we heard that Diomaye Faye had made a speech somewhere abroad calling upon NATO to intervene in the Sahel region. That's cause for concern. At the same time, and so what you find is that they're trying to couple the terrorism issue in the Sahel with the military interventions in the AES, with the military conglomeration that is the AES. They're trying to couple terrorism with what you see happening between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. So essentially, they're putting terrorism and military leadership that is endorsed by the people of those nations, by the way, in the same cup. And both of those things are being considered to be problems that now NATO has to intervene in, that now an ECOWAS intervention force has to intervene in. So here's my question. Last week, we saw the Nigerians, the chief of staff of Nigeria, with his delegation, Christopher Musa, going to Niger on what was supposed to be a friendly visit geared towards mutual cooperation. But ECOWAS has been having several meetings, haven't they? And I thought that all of ECOWAS was on the same page. So if Nana Akufo-Addo is still calling for an intervention force to be formed, then why are the Nigerians visiting Niger on a friendly visit? Or if the Nigerians are visiting Niger on a friendly visit, the Nigerian military, nonetheless, no less, visiting Niger on a friendly visit, then why is Nana Akufo-Addo still calling for an intervention force? And they're trying to play between the two issues. When they're calling for an intervention force, then they say it's about dealing with terrorism. But really, I told you all in a separate video that the body language, again, this intelligence thing is not just about what you can see or what you can hear or what you can taste or touch or feel. The body language of those Nigerians, I even saw some of them looking in the ceiling as if they were looking for cameras in the room. Like they had reason to feel that the military delegation of Niger was going to be stupid enough to hijack them, to to pull some kind of stunt. There was no need for that. But somehow they were looking around, shifting eyes. They just didn't look sincere. The Nigerians, on the other hand, welcomed them with open arms. They looked very relaxed. I was actually surprised. I wouldn't be inviting my enemies to my house and be looking relaxed. So there's a lot happening. We're also getting information from a few days ago that a warship from the West has landed on the shores of Ivory Coast. Yes, we're getting information that a warship has landed on the shores of Ivory Coast. Now, because I couldn't find a photo of the one that just arrived, what you're seeing here is a warship that landed in the waters of Ivory Coast on the 27th of October 2022. But even that, I want you to take a look at, because it was September 2022 when Ibrahim Traore took over Burkina Faso. Well, apparently, a month later, Ouattara's masters sent him a warship to dock in his waters. And as you'll see from this video, a lot of armored tanks, equipment, and personnel. And this Ivorian admiral is saying that this represents the permanent presence of French warships in the Gulf of Guinea. So make no mistake about it. The caption under this video from the Associated Press is saying that this warship is for training and to help respond to drug trafficking and piracy off of this coast. But it's really a coincidence. It's a heck of a coincidence that a month after Traore takes over across the border from Ivory Coast, a French warship lands in their waters. Why Ivory Coast? Because Ivory Coast is reportedly hosting French troops, one, and two, because Ivory Coast is hosting French troops because they are located directly under Burkina Faso. They are strategically located. Ivory Coast is directly south of Burkina Faso. They share a northern border. Their northern border is with Burkina Faso. And so I'm seeing mixed messages here. There are mixed messages here. If the 25,000 intervention force is off the table, That's why I made there was another video that said, okay, so Nigeria is now supposed to be producing weapons. Yes, it would be easier for them to invade the AES if they were producing their own weapons. That's why. Then we received news that Captain Traore of Burkina Faso has produced a new passport for his people that makes no mention of ECOWAS. Those of us who carry ECOWAS passports know that uh, all of the countries in ECOWAS have ECOWAS passports. So if you are from Ivory Coast, your passport will say that you are Ivorian, but it will also say that it is an ECOWAS passport. That means it allows you to be able to travel between ECOWAS countries unperturbed, undisturbed, rather. And of course, um, I traveled over the last few months within the West African subregion, and I was able to cross in and out of borders without any problems because it was an ECOWAS passport. Um, Nobody asked me for a visa or anything like that, but you know that ECOWAS, not too long ago, when they were trying to use hard power against the AES, when they were trying to threaten the AES, they were saying that if you don't return to ECOWAS, will make it will become more difficult for your people to travel within the sub-region because then will not recognize your people as part of ECOWAS. Apparently, Traore took that personally because now um, he's like, okay, let me show you what that's gonna look like. Yes, it was your threat, but I'm going to carry it out. So you don't have to do it, I'll do it. So to me, it's starting to look like the situation is getting increasingly urgent. You saw Amina Mohammed visit the AES, calling upon the AES to return to ECOWAS. You've seen meetings where ECOWAS leaders have raised the concern that the AES takes up at least 50%. The AES subtracts at least 50% of ECOWAS. So it looks like that is worth fighting over. In addition to that, on top of that, people like France, the West, Americans are also doing their thing in collaboration with ECOWAS because the uranium issue is still on the table. The gold issue is still on the table. And as you can see, members of the intelligentsia, Ibrahim Traore is moving with lightning speed. This man is not kidding. He's not joking around. The man is making power moves and he's moving with lightning speed. And so it looks to me as though between the West and ECOWAS, they're like, you know, we have to handle this situation. It's getting out of hand. They're moving too fast. Niger, Mali, same thing. They're moving too fast. We need to handle this. This is getting out of hand. And so it looks to me as though uh, the Nigerian delegation the Nigerian military delegation to Niger, it looks to me as though that visit was pretty much a for the record visit. What does that mean? It means that they knew that Niger was not going to return to ECOWAS and was definitely not going to reevaluate, reconsider their relationship with France or America or Germany. They knew that. They knew that that answer was going to be no on all fronts going in. But when they first tried to invade Niger last year, there was a lot of intervention. Northern Nigerians, senators from among the Hausas in the Nigerian parliament, uh, Abu Bakr, General Abu Bakr, Governor Sanusi, a lot of people went to Tinubu and said, you cannot do this. The Hausas went to Tinubu and said, you cannot intervene. Definitely not militarily, because the Nigerians are our brothers. We cross the border every day. We do business with them. Those are our brothers. A lot of people prevailed upon Tinubu as chair of ECOWAS not to invade Niger, because they said, we prefer that you exhaust all diplomatic options. And so between ECOWAS and the West, the French, the Americans, the Germans, and whoever else is involved, they know that the eyes of the world are on them. They know that the world is watching. They know that a lot of people are in favor of what is happening in the AES. And so the visit to Niger by Christopher Musa and his delegation was a for the record visit. That means we just went there so that no one can say that we did not exhaust all diplomatic efforts. We went there. They said no. So we were constrained to invade. That's what that visit was. Same thing with Amina Mohammed, UN's Deputy Secretary General. They're checking off the list of people who have gone to the AES to plead with them to return, so that when they invade, they can have their talking points ready. Oh, Amina Mohammed went there, they refused. We even sent the Nigerian chief of staff there, he refused. They refused. We sent this person there, they refused. We sent that person there, they refused. We sent Diomaye there, they refused. So we had no option but to invade. That's the storyline. Members of the intelligentsia, I'm telling you now, that is the storyline. Everything that you see happening, being accomplished in the Sahel, represents more and more steps of departure from the ECOWAS body. And everything you see being accomplished in the Sahel is a threat to ECOWAS and to their puppet masters in the West. And so I hope you're following the trajectory of this. Members of the intelligentsia, everybody's focused on, so much is happening in the Sahel. This is great. It is. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm the biggest fan of the AES. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that in our excitement, we seem to have lost track of what is happening behind the scenes. And I don't know how many of us are following the chain of events and the trajectory that this is taking. Um, and I just want us to keep our eyes on the ball, um, not to get so excited about the accomplishments that we lose track of what our enemies are doing. A warship off the coast of Ivory Coast is nothing to ignore. Is nothing to ignore. It means they're gearing up for something major. If you are telling me that Christopher Musa and his men paid a visit to Niger, then it would look to the ordinary man that, okay, that intervention force, invasion force is off the table, and maybe they're exploring diplomatic options, military cooperation, and joining together to focus on the terrorism issue as opposed to trying to fight Niger on behalf of their puppet masters. But somehow, there are other things that still point to an intervention force. So that's cause for concern.